The
Sorry,
beachy
guys.
schools are totally,
Oh, yeah, I saw the photos.
all the trees around the buildings.
I know. We have friends that live just like across from Gene Dillon.
High school.
Oh,
Did you, your kids lost trees locally here or?
Yeah, no, well, they're, what, Northern Township,
Okay, yeah.
just on the outskirts of what got nasty.
like
Yeah.
the northest point of that
There
store.
seemed to be out the ST area.
Bakers who used to own Budweiser. They live right next to the old Budweiser place there on
Mhm.
that, she lost her whole roof
Oh,
off her house.
my friend owns for City Dance Studio and that road there by Northdale. Convenience that was it Northdale like heating? They lost their roof and everything all over there is just blown insulation.
White.
It looks just like snow and her place is like two businesses down, missed, completely missed, one tree down, that's it.
Spot.
I know. I bet it was just crazy. Did you go in to work at Ace?
All 24 saws sold within 2.5 hours.
Yeah, Gunner went in Saturday morning. They had all of the generators sold by 9 AM at Menards and all of their water was sold out. People came in and started buying the commodities that Menards has. It was just crazy.
6 o'clock, we'll
Okay.
call the meeting to order. We'll dispense with the pledge. This is a work session. Can I get approval of tonight's agenda?
I'll move to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? The agenda is approved. Old business. Our PER update.
Well, was it a week and a half ago, we submitted the water distribution? and
Yep.
Water treatment to the intended use plan, so that's good. That just means that we're ready and looking for funding. We weren't able to do wastewater because we don't have a facilities plan yet. But we'll get there. We did hear back from the State Historic Preservation Office. We got a clear on historical stuff.
Yay!
So now it's just on me to get the final review done so we can get this thing out the door, so.
You're from Shippo. That's
Great.
great.
Close.
That usually takes like at least 3 months, if not longer.
Yeah, this was just a little over 60 days, so it was,
Cool.
we were surprised.
So when do you anticipate having the time to make sure that your side is done? Provided your workload and your short staffness.
That's the only problem.
Yeah.
I would like to say a month. I'm hoping I can try to do it in a month, but I don't know if I can guarantee it. But
Okay.
I don't want it to be much longer than that, we've got to get this thing going, so.
What is our hope then? By end of Q3, we might know something from the feds or into Q4? Don't their budgets usually come out for new money in the next year, like October 1?
Well, the intended use plan, the reason you want it on there is that's what gets the agencies talking. So they get together in September. And then about the October time frame is kind of where, when you know what funding is available and whether or not they can partner to try to get these things to come to fruition.
Mhm.
I would anticipate we're probably not going to get good news this year, but you just never know.
Yeah.
So I would hope by the end of the year, we would know, kind of where the water's at.
So if they pass the big beautiful bill, maybe we'll be some big beautiful money.
You're pretty hopeful.
I am pretty hopeful.
Maybe.
I'm a glass half full kind of person.
All good things.
All good things.
Any questions on that? Yeah, we'll keep going.
Yep.
Our library,
I have not connected with Tony since our last meeting on June 9th. We were supposed to connect a week ago last Friday to nail down our timeline. That's still kind of up in the air, and then I took some time off last week too, so I'm that ball is still in the air. I'm gonna reach out to him this week. I think the events of this past weekend are gonna push some things backwards for just about everything on this list.
For every contractor out there.
Exactly, so I'm not anticipating the start date that he originally told me, there's nothing we can really do about that, so I know the money is there, I know the plan is there, it's just getting it off, getting boots on the ground to get started.
Started.
We're just gonna have to have a little bit more patience, so. Yeah,
And what was the original start date he did?
he first said like mid to late May, that got pushed into mid-June, now we're talking late June. And that was the communication I had before our June 9th meeting. So will not be surprised if we don't get started before the 4th of July. I just don't see that happening now.
I see that.
Yeah. I mean, most supplies and stuff like that in the area are probably gonna end up going towards, recovery at this point, so it's gonna take a little while for like, suppliers and stuff and, to get filled back up with time and materials. It's okay, we'll get it, we're working on interior stuff, so even if it's fall, we can still do interior projects. So. Yeah. I don't like saying that I don't know, so I'm sorry, you guys, but it is what it is. I mean, could be worse, we could have had it happen up here too, and we'd really be in a world of hurt.
City Hall repairs then,
Yeah, that's in the same
same
boat.
boat.
That's the same boat, we have
Plus
not
the
heard,
Funding is,
yeah, we haven't heard anything from the feds on this at all, and my communication with Beltran Electric, the last update I gave you guys was the new census information. When the Shade Store closed, kind of changed some of the economic numbers for the area, made it drop a little bit, which gave us more, this sounds horrible, gives us more points, because we're in a moderate to low income area, which increases our chances and gives us more points to get the money. Drops it more because of that loss of the industry that happened with the Shade Store, so it's a catch-22. But again, I think a lot of it's gonna hinge on feds to see where money's gonna go. So my thought process of nothing happening until 2026 is to be very clear to me.
Okay.
Do you want me to go back to the duck? Cause I do have something to do with Mike today, cause he went very quickly.
no.
Gave me
I'm sorry.
some details.
I went down there
Okay.
I saw the other day.
Let's hear.
Okay, so what Mike told me is he went and looked at the foundation. It is a poured foundation that the base sits on. There's already 2 existing vent holes on that base that the statue sits on. He says, in his opinion, water is not an issue. The foundation for the statue is solid, but there's a fiberglass base on the top of the base that the statue is part of. And that's at the point where it needs repair too. And what has basically happened is where the feet and the tail of the duck is on this base, and the fiberglass is worn down, so it's made kind of a concave base. So he believes that with what, like what Nick did and with his, alleyway of fixing things, just let me rip it and go. He believes that he can reform that so it'll shed water, because that's one of the biggest problems. And then build it up so it will shed, and then fix the ground around it. He does plan on ripping out the asphalt pavement that's to it, and then shape the ground, and that should resolve it. He also wants to try to reach out to Wilhelmie and maybe the school and see if there's somebody that's willing to tackle the painting of the statue itself. I have not heard back from the fiberglass gentleman from 10 Strike. Although I've made probably 3 attempts since I spoke with him the first time. So I'm assuming he's either A, not interested, B, not getting my phone calls, or, you know, just hasn't had the time to get back to me or look at the report. I know that when I spoke to him, he was in the mindset that he could take the statue to his location and work on it, and that's just not gonna be feasible. So that's where Mike's at. Don?
I went down there and looked at it, and the duck itself is in pillars, you know, into the concrete. But, it's just the top, it's all lifting up, the fiberglass is all lifting up around the edges and everything, and that's, you know, it needs to be probably taken apart, that top, but this is my personal
That
opinion.
top fiberglass section?
Just take that out there, rebuild it,
Mhm.
you know, and make, you know, kind of concave like Mike wants to do, but then I think it would be really simple to do.
Yeah.
And there's fiberglass back over it,
That's kind of what Mike thought.
the whole sheet.
He
No.
thinks that we may be able to do it in kind with ourselves with the existing budget we have, and probably still have some money left over for maybe future updates in 10 to 15, 20 years.
And the stone that goes around it, that seems to be all just fine.
Yeah.
It's just the top,
Mhm.
you know, it's like this thing, the edge, so. You know, I'm willing to work on it if, you know,
I'll tell Mike that, because it sounds like Mike's interested in trying to work on it himself too. So maybe we can get it all done ourselves.
Go for it.
People can do it.
you know, I mean,
The materials cost whatever, and we have the money to do so.
And in that budget, that would also cover ripping out those tar paths, and
Yeah,
we can use that for.
we can use that for the sod around it
and
too.
Making it the ground around the.
And if we need to give the school money to make, a facade for the old duck, then we would have some left over to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah, nice. They're not even be willing to help with the fiberglass.
yeah, cause you
Cause
can,
it's nice to have a guy mixing, a guy painting, a guy putting down.
cause you can get fiberglass that's in sheets. you
Oh,
know,
you
like
can, yeah, 4x4s, whatever,
you
yeah.
want by,
Hey, I'll get it from me.
well,
Menards.
you know, you can buy all the stuff. Not big.
Well. Then you guys can communicate with each other and Mike and.
Yeah.
Get her figured out.
Get the
And that's what
fiberglass
I
done
will
and,
report to the chamber.
When is August 16th?
Yeah, I would, say let's, my opinion on when things are leaking and water's getting in there is get them done.
Yeah.
The neglect, delay is what causes exponentially more damage, and
Well,
even if we don't quite know what we're doing, it's gonna be better than it is now.
well, we talk about things, we talk about them,
Yeah,
you know, twice a month we talk about it and we don't ever get to you. You know, I mean, that's
that's why.
government.
Have trouble is either trying to find someone to do the work or.
Yeah.
And that's any
But that's
organization.
why
We
the-
have,
And as far as shaping it, concaving it, you could use a spray foam and just carve it to whatever shape you want and go over the fiberglass for that. Tie into the existing.
Well, that's what we need, go down there,
those are good ideas.
you know, or cut some like trusses, you know, whatever, you know, out of wood or whatever.
Something light, kind of lightweight. So it doesn't
Lightweight,
keep sinking down or whatever.
so we'll have to, we'll look at it.
Okay.
We'll hook up with Mike.
Fantastic.
Good.
Thanks, you
Well.
guys. Um. Oh, you want me to keep going down? And then,
yeah.
okay.
That's
So-
their, yeah, that was.
So Birch and Beyond, I believe I talked to Tyler. I must not have spoken about this at the June 9th meeting, and that's fine. So I'm only talking right now about the piece of property that the city owns, that was deeded to us by Balsinger at this meeting. The other portion is gonna end up being a vacation request. I still believe that right away for the alley, but the deeded property that I put in your guys' packet, we just filed and paid for the filing fee
I talked with Matt Sparby about the property. I talked to Tyler about, purchasing the property because that's what we should be doing because it's a change of ownership. And he of course wants to know how much we want to sell it for. If we're going to, have it, surveyed or not. And I told him, I said, these are all conversations that we can still have. I said, this is where the city's position is because of what we discovered with this piece of property. I needed to make sure he was aware that the city, would need to sell this to him, change hands, instead of just convey it to him. And then I lost connection with him because he was in Canada, so I didn't really get filed up back with him, but I did call Matt Sparby just to bounce this idea off of him. I said, the council wants to have, the piece of property surveyed, so we know that he's only getting that area. And obviously that would fall back on a cost to him. Sparby said at best what you should do, because the other section of the property, he already knows where the property line is, because it's basically the edge of the building. Is just to find the southwest and the southeast markers. And so he at least has a good and clear understanding as to how much property there is. That is an option for us. At this point, I would leave it up to you guys to decide if that survey is necessary, because it just continues to go into the water area. Of which Tyler's communication with Levers is, yes, they've given him verbal authorization to put his poles as far out as they want, because they own all that land. They don't mind it being there. So when we spoke about it last, we were concerned about how much area he was taking over. He told me if they had verbal communication that they were fine with that. What we have to do as the city is sell this piece of property to him. I don't know what the value is. Matt Sparby said it's probably not that high. At best, you're at least gonna get the property taxes for it at the city level. His suggestion was, quit claim deed it to Tyler, get that done. Make sure it gets filed with the recorder so that it becomes a tax rolled piece of property and be done with it.
Yep.
Okay.
That's what we should do.
I think so too. I mean, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't wanna charge him for a survey if,
I don't.
we already know where the other 2 points are.
We should not pay for the survey, so if a survey is done, it should be 100% of his cost.
It should be, and at this point, based on those communications with him, I don't know if it's necessary.
I don't think so. And if you're looking at what the property was deeded for,
$1 and other goods, good and valuable.
That was 1976.
I know Dan, the guy behind me, he was gonna have, the surveyor, but Murray, I think it is.
Matt Murray,
He was
yeah.
gonna have his surveyed,
Mm,
and it was $1,700.
Yeah.
To find the 4 corners.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
And it's,
And in this case, I mean, Tyler's operating a business, like we discussed. The property that he's going into
and he's not.
is not stable enough to really build anything on. So what are we gaining here by forcing the survey?
so you just have, it's to protect levers. That's what you would, so,
Okay.
cause if you're going south,
Mm-hmm.
it's to find the exact line, so. For levers. So it's kind of a mutual agreement between them two, or actually a signed document, it should be.
On
Should
that
be.
part, yes, once it's out of our hands.
After, yeah,
That's,
Because-
yeah, it's up to them.
this word of mouth stuff, that how far that goes.
Not very far. Well,
Well,
it goes far, it's just,
Well-
it never gets filed.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
well, like you said, the people assuming know where property lines are. They don't hide.
Mm-mm,
Don't think like this.
no,
Mhm.
and the county already has this deed,
Correct.
on file in the recorder's office. So if I move forward and, put together purchase agreement, you know, I could ask Barbie, whip it up really quickly. We just need to put a price on it. I mean, I think filing right now is like $46 at the recorder's office,
As long as it covers the fees, make it bitches that, make it be that,
closing, and make him pay closing costs.
and it, yeah.
All costs for the.
Okay.
Cause
I mean, we're
the
not
city's
trying,
never gonna use it.
you're,
Exactly,
we're never gonna use it.
Right.
He has a use for it,
And it can become taxed.
and it can become taxable, so win.
so are you saying we're gonna sell it to him for nothing? It's his responsibility to pay the closing costs? What, are we gonna put a dollar amount on it?
Does there have to be a dollar amount legally or?
I think so, otherwise it's conveyance and we're not gonna convey it. We're gonna
500
sell it.
bucks.
Well, just make sure we'll cover anything that we have to incur. City,
Okay,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't leave it vague, I mean, make it 100, 500.
Okay.
more than $1, you know, you gotta make a profit.
But, you know, there's administrative time that we've spent doing loans, so.
oh, sure.
Yeah.
$150, somewhere in there.
Well, yeah, you got, everybody thought about that, all your time, your administration time and.
Let's not go there. I've made a bunch of phone calls, that's not bad. I've waited,
Yeah,
I've
At
waited,
your normal hourly rate though, so.
that's my wage. I'm not paid hourly, so I don't know.
So the taxpayers, Blackduck are paying. For,
yeah, so they should have, there should be something.
there should be
Okay.
something.
The other side to that is, his trailers and the 10-foot setback to the utility. I did bring that up in conversation with him. He said Beltrami Electric did come and visit him. And did tell him he needed to move that trailer. It is too close to the power pole and to the communication post. And I said, yes, that's exactly what they told me to. You need to move it. So regardless of the alley section, which we have to give both property owners the option to have ownership to that alley right away. And if George doesn't want it, that's fine, but there's different language for that alley that I have to work on. I think that can be a vacation. So it's kind of like two different things at this point. It went from being really easy to really complicated for me and for Tyler.
Well, we should expect that kind of stuff.
I know, it's just, I'm glad that we figured out that it was actually,
There's actually a deed.
oh, yeah, that it's just deeded property. Obviously Tyler doesn't want to incur a ton of costs in this, but, his business is crazy busy over there. Once he moves that semi-trailer, it'll be interesting to see how the property fares. We never got into the discussion of how much area he's taking over. Outside of the conversation of what levers had told him he could use. And we lost communication. So I'll follow back up with him, tell him this is the path the city's gonna do. We would like to know, for his reference, where the southwest and southeast, property markers are. But we'll be, doing a sale to him for that one piece, and then we'll work on the other one separately. Good with you guys?
That's,
Okay,
In closing, I will note that the deed, in case anybody has any questions about the validity of the signatures on the quitclaim deed,
Yeah,
you could simply contact the notary public who notarized it 49 years ago,
horrible.
as he remains a registered voter and taxpayer in the city.
Isn't that crazy?
So,
He probably remembers doing this too.
Probably.
so I don't know what his health plan is, but he's got a good one, so.
Oh, he lives in Blackduck?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Bud, right?
Yeah, but.
Yeah,
Bud Olson.
Oh,
Bud,
was the
okay.
owner.
Yeah.
Office
One of
is
those other
right in
people
there.
in town that never use their actual name.
That Cressita's office used to be his office.
Mm-hmm. He tells me that every time
And
he
Ali
comes in here.
Chantos used to be there and before Bud took over and he was in the back.
Yeah.
Where Mike's office used. to
Every time he comes in to vote, he tells me that.
be. In fact, he's the one who pioneered
That was
that.
my damn office.
The Wells Fargo
Yeah,
building.
that was the
Yeah.
Black Duck State Bank built that and moved over there from
Yeah.
this building. Then it was acquired by Wells Fargo in 1988.
Hmm.
So
There's
Okay.
history lessons.
he is right up here and you can get him at the Senior Citizen Center any day if you have questions. So most days.
Onward.
So the Lakeview Cemetery revisions, Mike and I discussed his language conflict between section 6 in the care and maintenance.
Yep.
And the perpetual care language. And what I opted to do, which Mike was fine with, was. What page was that on?
All landscaping grading.
Yeah, was I deleted that a new language I added to subdivision 3 in section 6, and he was good with that. So barring nothing else there, I did not find any fluid language for restricting vaults for urns. So I didn't add any other language on that. Wins,
Posts.
posts. And those were the two things we talked about at the last meeting that you guys wanted to see action in.
Gonna go with fall.
That's what I took away from the last meeting, John. Yeah. Noise maker. Yeah, we can just leave. The language in section 9. Subdivision 3, where it says ashes must be placed in an urn prior to burial, no vault is required for cremation.
Right.
We don't have to stipulate anything really
No,
granularly
that-
specific.
Covers it.
I think that covers it, yeah. And then,
I was going to bring up also that, I don't know. Vaults don't have to be made of concrete. Is that,
well, I don't think we. Oh, yeah, we did, in a concrete vault core box.
so? Where does anybody stand on that? I mean, because there's other vault types.
Well, do you wanna eliminate the word concrete? I'm trying to see what other,
I mean, some folks, I've seen where some cemeteries have, they don't want fiberglass in there, they don't want,
so the city of Sabika's section says all caskets must be encased in a permanent type burial case or vault. Fiberglass vaults are prohibited. I could specify the language to say something of that sort.
I mean, if that would, I was just asking because if it. Maybe, if it's a cheaper option for Ron's point of the expense of concrete vaults.
Okay.
If there's another.
option. for
option
people.
for people that
Okay.
was perhaps more cost effective, cost a little less, but I don't know. Obviously, there's probably someone has a reason why fiberglass is not acceptable.
Yeah, I wonder.
Or if you have high groundwater, there would be a buoyancy force there.
Oh,
Concrete with.
Thank you.
offset that, yep.
Okay, so that,
point. Yeah, we don't want that.
No, you don't want.
That's why you want bolts in the first place, right?
Yes, exactly.
we don't want, we're sinking,
Yeah, you don't want the opposite, right?
No.
we don't need them coming up either, yeah.
Have a poltergeist issue. We don't want that. Okay, well, what would you guys,
I'm
Rather
just, I'm
see-
just bringing that up as.
Sure.
If anyone else has looked at other types of vaults, or if the vault,
I don't know if there are other types.
I didn't know there was any other
Currently, I
type.
mean, I have a vague recollection in 1991 that I believe I recall that it treated wood bolt, but this is 2025, so I wouldn't want to relate it to my
I mean,
recollection.
East Grand Forks is pretty specific on theirs. They just say a burial vault or grave liner constructed of material that will not deteriorate and be affected by elements.
Yeah.
Meeting the following specific specifications with thickness, blah, blah,
concrete,
blah.
metal, or plastic.
Green Tree only is guaranteed for 20 years underground. That's all they get, like we put wood foundations in it.
I guess some people also use stainless
So like
steel.
guaranteed for 20 years.
Green treated, well, I mean, they're like basement.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the green treated basement to my south has been there since about 78.
Yeah.
The chiropractor's building is on a green treated basement.
Mhm.
Well, but that's probably different. They probably coated it, sealed it with a poly too.
So, just for discussion purposes, I guess I don't know.
A sealed vault would be, for a complete pan and then a lid, a sealed lid on top. I mean, I don't think you can build a sealed one with wood, and then unless you're gonna wrap it, so. There you go. Plastic and tar and, yeah, no.
Yeah, that's my point is there anything other than that available?
I
Current.
I agree.
I have a vague recollection from 40 years ago, so I'm not.
How about we use what Sabika has then? It's vague enough where it gives people options. But strong enough for saying that we want them.
Yes. I mean, concrete is going to become obviously it's the go-to material, right off the bat, but.
Does Saviga have the language prohibiting fiberglass?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, their section 8 says all caskets must be encased in a permanent type burial case or vault. Fiberglass vaults are prohibited. Would you like to see that done?
Seeing a lot of the,
Well, if it's,
Mhm.
if they're not good, yeah.
a lot of the vaults already, and they'll come with a inner liner that's plastic.
Okay.
Inside.
Do that.
Yeah, that's pretty, with the concrete vaults, that's pretty standard.
Okay,
But. Yeah, I just want to be sure that we
covered that part.
covered that part.
With the top. Do you guys want to see it one last time then on July 9th before I move forward with readings?
Well, I think we could probably do a reading if we wanted to, Christina, with the, if you could. Whatever,
Let's see if I have enough time to make a
yeah, it's up to you.
public notice. Without the 4th, I would have to have it on the 5th paper to make, oh, I'm sorry, July 7th is our meeting. We don't have enough time. Its first reading wouldn't be until the 21st at our work session in July. So
Okay.
that's fine.
That's time enough, then we'll look at it one more time then.
Okay, sounds good. I will make a note. Up to you.
Yeah, I went, that was one of those internet searches, it's a rabbit hole, man.
Oh, on,
On burial
On
vaults.
burial vaults?
And all of a sudden you learn that people are using copper and stainless steel.
Wow,
And, yeah, lining them with bronze or, yeah, it's. Yes. More money than sense, you know, but.
right,
It's whatever their last wishes are.
So, and
yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay, the last thing I had in old business is just our 2024 financial audit presentation from CLA. So I included a letter that was advised to me to send to the state auditor today. That was sent into our other entities that monitor, our disclosures like Ellers, S&P and a couple others, that they're formally requesting an extension for the submission of our audit. You can read in there,
yeah,
as I've stated before, the head person that was in charge, Troy, suffered, you know, some time away in the hospital that was unpredictable, and it's put an undue hardship on their timeline. They are going to subsequently, in addition to this, submit a letter to the council. I'll have that in the July packet as well for you guys to read from CLA, stating, you know, what their plan is. They are working on their on our audit this week. Now that some of their staff is also, the other staff that's been working on it is also back in the office. They expect to have it done on or before July 31st is what their extension is. That's not that bad. So I, you know,
and they've,
basically said, I've never been late. Please approve this extension. And hopefully it'll be accepted by Office Auditor Blaha.
Can I ask for the backstory on this? How long ago did they inform us that they were having, that they were gonna be late?
So Troy ended up, when I first started working with CLA, about late January, Troy was telling me how he's had a lot of pain in his feet and he didn't understand why. The doctor came back. It's probably TMI. But what ended up happening is he threw a clot. And he ended up in the hospital. And it was very unpredicted. He's not that old. And he was actually put in a little bit of a coma until they could pull him out so that his body could come back. And he was the main point person that was hired locally to take care of our audit. The other portion to that is because of the enormity of starting a brand new city with a new auditor, there was a lot of information that they went through with me to start from point A, because their communication with Noah McDonald wasn't great. They didn't really get a lot of history that they could start from scratch on from Noah McDonald. So they needed to create a ground base to work from in order to complete our audit. Troy was instrumental in that, as well as Siona, and half of them were gone for almost 6 weeks to 8 weeks. Siona did what she could to fill in the holes while he was gone. And they tried to pull other staff in from other entities across the nation to fill in, but without that starting point, working with me in January up until when he ended up in the hospital, it's just too much knowledge to share verbally for them to really have a good grasp of, if they were coming across an issue, how to work the problem without me starting all over with them. Their solution was to just put it on hold, and we weren't the only city that suffered this, obviously, because they work with probably about 7 other cities in the state. So that's probably the more than I should be telling you, but that's what they've shared with me.
and the state should obviously realize, and I say should, it would be nice if they would realize that there's such a limited number of firms that are doing this.
Well, our financial audit, because we're a cash-based city. Puts more work into an audit as it is. And yes, the state knows that we're a cash-based city. But we could make the move to change to, government accounting standards. We haven't, that might be an advisement from CLA at some point when this is done to make it more streamlined and easy for everybody. But to answer your question, we probably make it harder on ourselves by being a cash-based city in terms of how we move forward our budgets every year. Instead of just ending them and starting over again.
Okay.
Ron, I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
Well, you gave me a lot of background, yeah, but I'm looking at the letter dated June 23rd. I mean, I guess what I'm wondering is this something they just dumped on us at the last minute?
No, sir, not at all.
We knew
I knew
before-
this was coming in May.
That they weren't gonna be on the June 30th.
We knew
Yeah.
we were pushing it really close.
We had more than 7 days notice that we're gonna miss the.
100%, yeah. Before Memorial Weekend, I spoke with Chris and I kept on saying, are we on track for you to come to the work session in June? He said right now, yes. And then a week would go by and I communicate with them and he said it's looking like it probably is not gonna happen. The day after our June meeting, I called because I knew Troy was back and I said, I need to know if we're gonna make this deadline. I do not want the city losing its LGA because we're not gonna get, our financial aid or our financial audit submitted. And he said, I've done this with other cities before. You can ask for an extension. This is common. Do not worry. Of course, I'm worried. But it does not look like we're gonna make it to the June 30th deadline. So I knew it. I was just hoping that they would have enough time to get it all done.
Yeah,
it's
because
just-
normally we see it in March,
My goal is to have it presented to you guys by the May council meeting. That gives them through March to complete all the work, April to complete the drafts, and May to deliver them. With a full month to 45 days to submit to the OSA. And that's how Miller McDonald has been able to do it for years to come, or in years past. But they also had since 1986 doing an audit too, so they had, 40 years of knowledge that CLA does not. So no, the letter was drafted today. This was not dumped.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
My office is aware of it.
new business.
Couple items that you'll see come up at the next meeting. This city road maintenance agreement that came out in December. Mike and I have been working with the county highway department about it. This is going to all entities that utilize the county highway department to do any services to the roads. Mike has reviewed this. He does not believe that this will be used much for the city, but all entities within Beltrami County have to partake in this agreement. So Mike's already looked at the dollar amounts and everything. He doesn't see this as going to be like something that we're gonna have to budget for, because we rarely use them for snow removal. And our maintenance agreement we have right now still stands, that they share, like we take care of Quiet Meadows, they take care of usually, and so forth. So all of those shake hands kind of things still happen. These are for if they came in and did our whole town, roads that aren't county of that nature, which should not have to happen, but it does. That agreement has to be in place. So I'll have this for you guys to authorize July 7th. Hence the reason the dates are 2024 is because the original agreement came out the end of the year.
Yep.
But the final request to have it approved for them so that they can budget didn't come out till like a week ago. 10th, I think it came. 12th.
So my question is, this doesn't have anything to do with the maintenance of the county roads. They already do,
That's correct.
so. in
That's
other words, Summit and Maine
They
are
already
already
do.
done because they're county roads. We don't have.
That's correct. This would be as if,
And the
let's
school-
just say for the sake of argument, all of our maintenance equipment was down. And they had to come and plow all of our city streets and alleys. That would go into this. Which shouldn't happen.
And backwoods.
I popped this in here because they sent these to the liquor store and the golf course and the fire relief. In speaking with Misty, because she's been on this, committee before, this is a new group of committee. She advised that you guys discuss if the city would be doing anything monetarily for backwoods.
Take care of the garbage.
We pay for the garbage, you are correct.
Our.
Mhm. Yep.
And one other thing too.
Oh, yeah,
What was it?
you donate your dump. Is that what you were?
No, I was thinking of you actually. but- No,
I haven't-
something else.
I haven't reached out to any of these point people that are at the committee, if they want to make a formal cash donation request out of the liquor rent fund or not. I could reach out with Brett Mistick and let him know.
Does that, the city insurance covers their event, correct?
So the insurance doesn't pay for their event, chamber insurance pays for their event.
We're not. a chamber.
Well, then they don't have insurance. Maybe, they could get special event insurance on their own,
Hatchet throw.
city does not cover their insurance.
I'm just wondering who's covering that, but
I don't know, good question. Have they gotten special event insurance in the past?
you know, when they remembered, when it was,
A chamber thing?
when the chamber had the funds still sitting in there.
Mhm.
But now it's not, if they're not in there, those funds are not listed on any of our.
Hatchet throwing, wow. I didn't notice that earlier.
I,
Glad you
I,
pointed that one out.
I would imagine that, or you're hoping that the folks that are bringing the hatchets have insurance.
So they were there last year.
I think, were they, the hatchet people?
They had to trade.
Okay, so it's most likely covered with people that run the event, it's kind of like, the mechanical bull and everything, all those things have to be like monitored by their staff only, it's not something that they're just letting go, so
You probably have to sign a waiver before you,
I can't imagine.
I know the goal you have to.
I know when you go to Hatchet House, you have
Yeah.
to. So. Chances are that's all covered with waivers and, the cost of them having. to be
I
there.
was just, wondering if that was something.
If
that
the
they-
city requires or is going to require special event insurance, then make it known. Haven't before.
Well, is the city having liquor down there this year?
Uh,
Yeah, the pond.
the pond would be, I think, if they are.
Beer. That would be
Yeah.
a pond, right, go outside the pond.
That would be
Where they
covered.
use it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I messed that too.
Yeah, it's covered under their own dram then. That's why everything has to be roped off and fenced up.
I didn't see that.
Any more?
So what do you guys think? Are we satisfied with what we're doing for the bash, or is there something more we need to do?
So just another background question, when we had the bash last year, we were told that the reason for fireworks is they were blowing all their money because that would be the last year.
Correct,
And
sir.
I assume it's been rejuvenated. I don't read the chamber minutes, but, other people are rejuvenating it, or?
Yes, they've had
So
some.
these committee members are new folks, or?
They are new folks, yes,
Okay.
Ron.
Oh, cool, it brings
And,
stuff to do for kids and.
Yeah.
People downtown.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, if we've given a monetary donation in the past, I assume, if I recall correctly, right?
There has been, cash donations out of the liquor rent fund for it in the past, but when. And it's been a few years since that had been done.
Oh,
Prior to that, I think, specific, like the liquor store and the golf course would put money towards it, so I don't know. Knowing that we already pay for the garbage, all the water, all the electricity, toilet paper, everything like that, that's there. And they bring in porta johns, I don't know. That's up to you guys if you wanna take more money
yeah, no,
towards something
our
else.
budgeting has gotta be tighter, so I would say whatever we've done in the past is acceptable. I mean,
Okay.
other than last year, but we haven't made cash donations, I don't know how we can start now.
Okay.
Very good.
I've started the 2026 budget process.
Yay.
I'm just baby stepping into it. So I just want to let those that know that are part of that committee that I will most likely start looking at. Committee meetings, it's middle to late July, early August. Haven't gotten too far into it yet. We'll also calling your personnel committee to look at wage scales for 26 and a couple other things. I've been communicating with you guys about the paid leave. That's coming in 26 as well,
Thought we had a 2-year contract.
and that's only for union, but
Oh.
we have other people, right,
Okay, yeah.
that it would subject to.
Yep.
But yes, you are correct. That helps. It makes my job a little easier, Don, you're right. I already know what I can put in there. Yep, you're right. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I'm starting that. I worked on the bond schedule for next year already. A lot of stuff sunsets this year, so it's gotten a lot shorter, which is great. And then the last thing I wrote on there is just, you know, the storm that happened this weekend. I wanted you guys to know, we had Gene Williams from the Greenwood Cemetery in Bemidji reach out to us asking for help to clear debris. Our public works group is going tomorrow. They're bringing our equipment and they're gonna be helping them. They're not run by the city, they're separate entity. Apparently our city staff helped in 2012 during the last big windstorm. So Mike is taking his staff and a bunch of equipment down tomorrow, to help Greenwood out. I've reached out to Tom Berry, the admin for the county. I let them know that our city's up and running, so if their staff or anybody in, Bemidji needs help, please to reach out for us and we'll do what we can.
And the cemetery is in the city limits of Bemidji, right?
That Greenwood
Is it?
Cemetery that's the one that's between Urban Avenue and Bemidji Avenue.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Bill Batchelder is supposed to be the grounds maintenance.
He does a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
So it's a lot of time.
he does a lot of stuff out there, so. And Mike also told me today that when he's down there, he's gonna reach out to the city of Bemidji and see what we can help with. Equipment, manpower, whatever. I mean, it's not costing the city any more money that, you know, cause we already paid their wages, so I know it would always be reciprocated.
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah, we missed the eye.
Everybody's been,
25 miles north,
Yeah,
we
we
were,
found
that's a
ideas.
45 important note.
I'm avoiding it because I know it's bad until I have to go down there. Yeah,
well,
With trees?
yeah. I mean, there's like power poles broken off halfway and just hanging by cables. Just so that you guys know, Mike and his staff worked all day Saturday, part of Sunday. with the power outage that the city had to keep water and wastewater working. Because all three areas in town that sell gas were shut down because of no electricity. He had to steal gas for the generator from the golf course. And then he just traveled that thing from lift station to lift station to lift station and asked people to conserve as much as possible. It was a challenge for them. I spoke with him at about 11:30 and he said he didn't know how much more they could take of that. And we have a generator, but he was concerned about how much longer they could go.
Is this a permanent generator or is it a
It's a
portable
big
one?
diesel one, yeah,
Portable,
it's portable.
Oh, it's portable.
Yep,
yeah, but with,
Trailer.
When you say it was moved to lift station.
yeah, it's on a trailer.
So he was hooking it up manually at each
Yep.
lift station.
not every lift station has a generator hookup though either, and that's what's in our report is, well, we have permanent generator for the water treatment and permanent one for the main lift station, and then 2 portables.
Yeah. Which would.
Yeah.
Probably could
Right
have
now,
really
yeah.
used on Saturday.
Yes.
I mean, we're very fortunate to have had our power back on by 2.
When right now we have no permits,
No permits.
That is correct.
all portable.
One portable.
One portable
Yep.
and 6 lift stations.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and 6 lift stations.
It was touch and go for a while for Mike. It really
Now, is there a
was.
hookup for the pumps to fill water tower with the generator or not?
Nope,
No, so if the water tower goes empty,
It's empty.
it's empty.
Yeah, when it's empty, it's empty.
cause I know what was said before we built the new one, as I understand it, was that the old one did not have enough capacity to keep the city going for 24 hours, so
It does now.
it does now, yeah, the new one does. But still.
Yes.
it's-
And that's not if it's at its full capacity. Or,
Cause it's not always full.
it's not always full.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Mike said that we had enough for a good 24 hours in the tower
Yeah.
that morning and then. But the big problem is what do you do with the water? That's coming out of homes, not into homes.
Yeah. And we have enough problems with that as it is.
Uh,
But having no
exactly.
power, it was a lot worse.
Yes, especially. Where we get a lot of rainwater where we don't need it.
Yeah,
And that amplifies that problem.
yeah. But, Misty opened the golf course cash only and people came.
Sure.
People were there. North Home was able to, but have power because they're on Itasca, so they were fully busy when I got there. Kellier got power quick, Sam got power quick, Washkish. So it seemed like everybody that came down from like Roseau and Warroad to help took care of the northern half of the county. Well, or the Bemidji and Otter Tail area took care of the other part. And still are. I know I don't have it on here, but I'm just giving you guys a heads up that this weekend is the weekend where the reading of the New Testament. I'm sorry, Ron. Is scheduled at the Wayside, so I'm giving you guys a heads up
That's this weekend.
that, yeah, I checked it, I was checking it for something else and I saw it was this weekend. Either this weekend or next weekend, I'm pretty sure it's this weekend. Sorry.
Oh, my phone won't ring.
So getting back to the storm damage. It does have a financial impact, I know. I know that for national corporations, have strict enforcement of food safety, and I know that Dollar General require their employees to dispose of all freezer and refrigerated items.
Yeah.
I personally watched them emptying out those things till
Wow.
empty and carrying on to the
Even Walmart,
the
those
dumpster.
usually did too.
They had to,
They,
That's
yeah, Shonda had, a generator at her house.
Right.
So she came in and she took everything and brought it to her house and put it in. And I told her, I said, just if it's perishable, like it's lettuce and that kind of stuff, just pitch it. But she was more worried about like things like pizzas and all the frozen goods for performance and US foods. So she was able to conserve that, which everything else, then just time for coolers to cool back down. Same with Misty.
She said it was as busy as Backwoods Bash that night,
Oh, that the pond was?
yes,
I believe it, yeah.
when they reopened.
I don't think Poor Willie's opened back up until yesterday or got power until yesterday, and I think they still stayed closed through yesterday so that their coolers could cool down too.
I don't know about money anyway.
Oh, he's not, that's right, that's right. I don't know where Hillcrest was, I haven't talked to Jim about it. She meeting there tomorrow night, so I'm hoping he's open. But yeah. Yeah, Northome's
Yeah.
busy,
That's a tremendous loss though, too.
I know.
You gotta imagine Walmart,
Oh,
Dollar General, it's a
Those insurance claims,
personal freezer compared to Walmart.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Bemidji's still using the Sanford Center as their Red Cross section, and it looks like United Way has got some great programs for everybody that's been displaced, so. Community is stepping up and doing what they need to, so.
so that was good that we were gonna be part of that, but Mike and the guys were gonna go down.
Yeah,
Also clean up.
I was gonna send it to a couple other places to see if they had time and stuff, but I'm sure word's already gotten out. I mean, social media's just been crazy busy.
None of our department heads are here, but they did a good job of power up. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that, but
Yeah, they did.
they did a great job.
Well, when it comes to push to shove, everybody kind of gets along.
A little bit. Not on the agenda, but the food thing kind of reminded me that there was a community meeting held at the free church
Oh, for a food bank,
for a food drive.
food shelter or something,
Yeah.
right? I
And
saw that
I
on
was-
social media.
I was unable to attend it. I would have been invited to attend, but I was unable to attend. I asked Don if he would go over there for me. And he did. And their big hiccup is a place.
Yeah. And you need a place to store it.
Well, they have funding.
Okay.
For food, funding for whatever they need, and they have people that will donate refrigerators and freezers for the food and build shelves or have the shelves. It's just the building.
Hmm.
So. I
No
wonder.
no one's ready to ask Chan if he'll give up Moondrug, huh?
Yeah,
It's already been
sold.
That's on
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Or nephew.
Yeah, yes,
Every year.
yes.
Nephew bought it.
So, yeah,
And,
Mm.
you know, I heard that you volunteered City Hall.
I know.
I don't have the power grid to support that
So-
stuff.
No,
Has
but
anybody reached out to the shade store?
Well, okay, so
Just a thought.
Scott Peterson was there. This last night of his job.
Right.
And he goes, well, shade store, anyways, so he's
Mhm.
gonna give the information to Miriam. So,
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
So then Miriam and I talked and we thought about it, like put that, the old police station, how, if they could have part of that, or, Brett, like the front half, she was just kind of throwing buildings out.
the relief is using it.
And then I said,
Yeah.
I told Matt,
Yeah.
then she asked about Brits, and I said, well, I think she still cuts hair every once in a while.
And I think Jeff Roberts' daughter might be buying it from Brett.
Okay, so, and then, so I went up to, the thrift store that the next day,
Yeah.
and and Miriam was there like 25 minutes before I was there. There's that one little store in between her thrift store and the apartments.
Yeah,
And so Miriam had asked about that.
okay.
So I thought about that one.
And Sherry was using those
Well, she has it full of furniture.
stuff everywhere, pushed in nicks and crannies.
So, we were kind of talking about all over the place. There was no real buildings in town except for like the church, the old church, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know, you'd have to do a lot of
I
retrofitting to get
talked
that in
to-
there, huh?
I talked with,
The
Presbyterian.
the old
Presbyterian on the
But
corner.
that's used by somebody, isn't it?
it's owned, but there's
Okay.
nobody, they don't live in there now.
Yeah, they
did.
retrofitted it to like a rental at some point. I don't think that's been done anymore.
And it hasn't had heat or water now for years,
Yeah,
I
that's-
guess.
Once you, that goes, it's like the old restaurant. It's abandoned down here. Once you don't eat it one winter, everything, nobody goes in there and blows the pipes up, like, they're all burst.
We're working on that. for reopening.
Did they consider the fact that, Brody is selling
Yes.
Hometown Ham?
That
Because
one
that's a
came
good
up.
location.
I brought that.
And
up,
he's
but-
got the kitchen kind of retrofitted already.
Well, there was still a full kitchen in there.
That. He had to up that for his,
For his big
Yep.
pot and
Yep.
the four phase, I think it was, electric for that thing and. Not 3 phase, it was like those 4 phase.
so they got money to buy a building?
Well, no, but not, and they said, well, how much is that? I said, I think you had it like for 140 or something like that line.
Okay.
And so. I kind of threw all these different things to.
And it was, and I currently, and while I was at the HRDC meeting that night, I had brought that up to a couple of the people down there, and they are looking at seeing if there isn't some sort of grant
Okay.
to buy a building. or
so-
I mean,
rehab.
that'd be perfect, cause it's on the county highway, it's got parking,
And it would be,
you know.
It's been continuously occupied, kept in repair,
Yeah.
whereas every other building you mentioned is, many of them are abandoned.
so
Yeah.
you could write, so they have grants like they can get to buy a building and something, the grants are real super easy to write and apply for.
Perfect.
So the lady that kind of ran the meeting from Grand Forks, I think she was from. She kind of said that, you know, there's money out there. Because the legislature passed a $5 million. For $5 million grant for food, for food banks, and $5 million for food shelves.
Okay,
They just passed it like 10 days ago or whatever. And
so
she-
they've got some resources
So
and some connections.
they'll never be out of food.
The, yeah, the importance here was just to bring it up so that, you know, as the city, as the council, we, you know, are very aware
That they're working on it.
that they're working on and it's something that obviously enough community members feel is necessary, and
Yeah, there's probably 25 people.
I mean,
Oh, I bet.
to be behind it, I think is good, and there's a need for it. The last food drop they had, there was over 7 families.
And the last food drop, they had people coming from Clearwater County because they didn't have,
Because they were out, yeah.
they ran out of food, so people came here for this one. The Clearwater County has the biggest. It's the poorest county in the state and its biggest need. So they're having a hard time. So if anybody has any ideas? They already know.
Or Nick wants to give up his garage, or
Maybe the pole shed.
You know, they just wanna be, like, you know, have it for like maybe 2 or 3 times a week, be open or whatever, you know, or at different hours.
Yeah.
And they got enough volunteers to help run it.
The only thing I caution the council on is you have to understand, it's owned by a nonprofit. It is going to become a non-taxable piece of property, I think.
that
So-
is,
A five,
Am I
50, right,
Yeah.
so 501(c)(3), they need to have, they have to have it, a church or some nonprofit fund or
Apply.
sponsor them.
Hmm.
And then they can apply for a 501(c)(3), but that takes quite a long time. But the church said they would sponsor it,
So there you go.
but if they buy a building, it'll be non-taxable,
Yep.
correct.
you know, we won't get no city taxes
I
on
won't
it.
get any taxes out of that anymore.
But if they lease a building,
Mhm.
you know,
The intent of the current owner of that place, though, Brody, is
So-
to sell it, I assume. right?
Yeah.
He doesn't
Yeah.
want to become
He's got
a-
it listed.
Yeah.
But actually you should call him.
Okay.
I went by his house yesterday and he's not living in the same house he was living in.
Okay, let's not talk too many personal details.
No, I'm just.
All right, with that, I just wanna make everybody aware of it.
We have a motion, we have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second that.
And a second, all in favor? We stand adjourned.
I didn't wanna bring it up in the meeting, but I do wanna let you guys know that I